Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
I hope you're having yourselves a good day. My name is Kanyeihmba. We are streaming live on our social media pages. That's the Alternative Uganda Facebook pages, and also Digitalk TV Facebook page as well. And later on, the very show will be on the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel, meaning we are streaming on 3 different platforms. So that he who cannot access us on the Alternative Uganda, you can now go to Digitalk TV. Who can't access us on Digitalk TV, you can find us also on the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel. So those are 3 channels where we stream. And every Wednesday around this time we are with Justice Kanyeihmba to share a lot of insights on what made news since we last met the previous week on Wednesday, and so many other events as they unfold in this country. There are so many headlines we have seen in one of the dailies where Parliament, I think Electoral Commission suggests that prisoners and people in diaspora also get a right to vote, and so many other incidents. The state of insecurity in this country. Previously, I think towards the weekend, we had one of the social media commentators by the name of Ismail All Access also shot dead, and so many other sequence of events. We want to ask Justice Kanyeihmba to say hello to our viewers, and then we shall see where to begin from. Sir.
Hello viewers, I greet you again, and even today I am particularly delighted because of the good news I have for our viewers or listeners, and particularly the promises I have got from big people to rescue my land from an authoritarian and Mr. Mbazira, who have grabbed it and they are now thinking it is theirs. I am very happy that the Ugandan leaders responded to me positively when I raised the alarm.
Okay. You have heard from Justice Kanyeihmba. I want to ask you to perhaps share with your viewers, in particular, what made news. I mean, ever since we last met, you could. I don't know whether you have any specific rather message in regards to the coronation of the new king now of UK, and so many other events. What made the news for you in the previous days?
As you know, my wife is the daughter of an Englishman by the name of Randall, originally from Hampshire, one of the bluest, meaning conservative areas in the UK. And today, this morning,
Wednesday.
the UK High Commission. High Commission is where you are equivalent ambassador, but you represent a former British colony or protectorate. I want to mention something here. Many Ugandans, including ministers, say when Uganda was a colonial position. Uganda has never been a colony. Uganda has been a protectorate. At one time or other, we may have been treated as if we were a colony, but legally, we have always been a protectorate. So, being a brother-in-law of the new king, Charles, today I was invited. There is a big celebration ceremony near the High Commission and the worker called me and said, Professor, are you able to attend the celebrations of King Charles III? And I said, but I am in a wheelchair and I have to be pushed. Then after we discussed, he accepted my suggestion that maybe on this occasion I should be excused because the garden there are full of terraces and steps, and I cannot manage to climb them myself. Unless I have a professional worker who can manage them. And so we both agreed that although I will be watching, maybe it is better if I don't attend tomorrow's celebrations. But I know the king's sister, Princess Anne. She recently visited this place and she gave me a call. Previously, I attended her dinner, formal dinner at the British High Commission, and I said, can you call my wife in the UK when you get there? I thought she would not take me seriously. When she got there, she said, are you the wife of Professor Kanyeihmba? She said, yes. She said, Princess Anne, you know, the English like the Waganda and the other people with the kings, when you mention the king, they go crazy. So my wife went crazy, although she's also now half Ugandan. She's dual citizenship. And she called me. She said, know what has happened, George? I said, he said, Princess Anne has said hello. I said, did she? I told her that she knew I was married to an English woman, and she gave me that courtesy of calling my wife personally when she left here, when she was asked here. So as you can see, the High Commission recognized me then. Today they had invited me. They invited me to attend the celebration of King Charles III, but as I have told you, on my own decision, I said I will not manage today, tomorrow.
Before we leave that very discussion, I would want maybe to hear from you as you tell our viewers, having been in UK for long, are there specifics in terms of what you may think that the the queen did not achieve, and in your view you think that the new king now is likely to achieve? Because some people, I don't know what
The Queen of England achieved everything. Once I was the subject of the Queen until independence, when I became the subject of Uganda authority. And she not only achieved so much we didn't even expect, but she achieved more beyond our comprehension.
Does that mean
Queen Elizabeth II really built, sustained, and helped the Commonwealth nations beyond any expectations, and we shall always love her for that.
do you seem to suggest that the new king may not have anything hard or anything new to bring on board rather than holding the office, if we should call it, holding the monarchy together?
The Queen of England and the kings over the centuries have always had no power, political power. But they have had the most powerful influence.
Towards the political power.
Yes, anybody has ever had. So I have no doubt whatsoever that the King Charles, who is the head of the Commonwealth, but no longer my heir, because my loyalty is to Uganda, my mother country, will achieve whatever is a problem, solve them in the Commonwealth. And certainly, through his love of his people, anything problematic in England, he will solve and achieve. He is a loved monarch. As you know, the new queen is a divorcee. She was married before. But they continued loving each other, even if it was against tradition. But now that they are king and the queen, I am sure the kingdom will be blessed with every gift and opportunity, blessing you can imagine.
Okay.
So, 3 of my children, my daughter, Sarah, and Joel, my son, and their siblings, the siblings of Joel and his wife, have got dual citizenship. When they go to UK, they don't need a visa, and when they come to Uganda, they don't need one. But I have never been, apart from during the colonial time, rather the protectorate time, I have never been a British or carried a British passport. Many Ugandans, especially during Amin's time, became and still are British citizens, or they have dual citizenship. My wife is British, she was born British, English pure, what they call the English rose. You can read my book called The Women I Have Loved. She's extra to that. She's my soul. We are soulmates. Only her has ever been that. And we have been married for 78 years. Just short of 2 years to equal the independence of Uganda. Because we got married in November 1964. And we call each other on average every week. If I hadn't had her voice, beautiful voice, I don't feel happy. When we have talked, then I feel extremely happy. That is the kind of marriage. But let me tell you something. We got married before racism was banned in the UK. So we married when marriage socially and legally was disapproved.
Between the black.
Yes, and the people said, including many Ugandans, that Kanyeihmba, you are very fanciful. This marriage will not last for more than a year if we are lucky. Now, many Ugandan marriages of Ugandan and the Ugandan have broken down. They will have divorced. Some of the friends I knew are now separate or married to somebody else. My dear wife, Susan, Ni Rwandru, and I,
Still together.
only God will depart us.
Okay, our viewers, with Justice Kanyeihmba, we could not skip some of the biggest events in the world, but also I want to hear your view. I'm sure that King Charles is either close to your age or thereabout. Now to ask, because when you were there as a young person, as a youth then, of course, literally, UK is smaller than as compared to Uganda. It's England itself is smaller than Uganda. Now, did you ever hear any rumors about? Because you could perhaps hear rumors from the palace about some of the conducts of maybe such nobles, because of late people have come to say in corridors that he is a racist, for lack of another word, that he does not embrace blacks.
No, that is not true at all.
There's one photo where he refused to handshake a black and he shook another person. So people began to speculate.
Norman, if you came and had the disease, or you came having been working in the garden, I will not shake your hand.
This was a cue.
There have been times when our own president, because of some sickness,
couldn't shake
has
hands.
to go gloves or refuse to shake hands. But he loves us. So that is mere speculation,
He's not
and I denounce it with the contempt it deserves. Charles loves the Commonwealth. Charles and Anne, when she came here, she's now the Princess Anne of Britain. They called me that the Princess of Britain would like to meet you because she has heard that you are married to
a British.
a Briton. When we got to the High Commission, they sat me next to her on the right of the table, if I remember. And she loves sport, things like horsing and so forth. And when I mentioned we finished eating and drinking coffee, chatting like people who have known each other for a long time, then I said, I'm told that being a royalist, you must also kiss babies around. She said, good heavens, no. I remember that statement.
Okay.
She has, of course, her own children. She has got nephews and nieces. And the future king, Williams, after her brother, she will be, I think, Princess Royal. Because the others are children or have got other ranks.
Okay.
This is the family I have known for a long, long time. When I was a student in the UK, when I taught at Warwick, when I taught at Cambridge, when I taught at Oxford. I've taught at
Universities.
some of the best universities in the world. Princess Anne was there. Princess Anne was married initially to a man called General Armstrong. They have children. Then, like her brother, she didn't want to stay in a marriage which was not very useful. She married another man from Scotland, and I think they are still married. Just as Charles was originally married to
Diana.
the reputed most beautiful woman in the world, Princess Diana,
Yeah.
and they also freed themselves in this world and married somebody or befriended somebody. Prince Charles is the present queen, and Diana, a royalist from Saudi Arabia, and she died in a car accident in France.
Dodi, is it Dodi Al-Fayed? I think, yeah, that's the name that.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are trying to, of course, like I said, we could not skip this because it was a big event. I don't know where we should begin from, but let's begin from, in particular here in Uganda, what I understand you were at the Judicial Service Commission. Kindly share with us what transpired there.
Yes.
And,
can I have my letter he has given?
it's
to you?
here.
Thank you. Can you read it?
Yeah, I think I should. This letter from the Judicial Service Commission.
Chairman,
Chairman, Judicial Service
it is
Commission.
signed by
For Permanent Secretary.
but it
Judicial
was
Service Commission.
dictated by the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission.
Okay, it's dated the 10th May, that's today, no doubt. Addressed to Professor George Wilson Kanyeihmba. Acknowledgement of your complaint, and maybe you will share with us what that complaint is about. We acknowledge receipt of your complaint dated the 24th April 2023 and received on the same date. That's the complaint that they are referring to. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to inform you that your complaint has been forwarded to the Department of Disciplinary Affairs for evaluation. We shall revert to you within 1 week from the date thereof with the evaluation findings, signed by Julius Mwebembezi, 4, Permanent Secretary, Judicial Service Commission. What was the complaint about, as stated, lodged on 20?
My complaint is in threefold. The first one is when the Constitutional Court ruled that Museveni had won the petition where we were challenging his threat to modify the right to bail. That is one thing that the officials of the Judicial Service Commission had hidden from the land chairman
of the commission.
of
Justice Kavito.
That's Kavito. When I mentioned today, he said, "What is that?" So they have been hiding everything to do with our petition, with the one remaining petitioner, Ivan, rather Alex Bavamuno. He's actually here today somewhere, doing some work for us. The second one, I can't believe it. Some judges were compromised. I can give you their names afterward. They were judges of the Constitutional Court of Uganda, which doubles as a court of appeal also. The first court of appeal. Somebody somewhere in the government said, if you rule that Kanyeihmba lost the petition, they are only interested in me, not even my colleague, then we shall elevate you immediately to be judges of the Supreme Court. Among those who were promised were Egonda Tende, and that is the investigation they're going to carry out to tell me the truth. Justice Elizabeth Musoke and the Justice Monica.
Monica Mujenyi. Is it
Mujenyi. And the two of my district, my regional persuasion and was two judges of the Court of Appeal from Kigezi. So, anxious to become judges of the Supreme Court, they made their judgment and wrote their lead judgment last year. Long before we had submitted, Alex and I had submitted our written formations, which were ordered by the same court, presided over by Egonda Tende. Before, secondly, knowing how the system works, they never bothered to answer our petitions, or what they call in law scheduling notes. Scheduling notes, you put in your main points, the other side puts their main point, you meet with the judges, and you decide these are the issues which the judges will be resolving. They just contemptuously ignored that. Then when I complained together with Mr. Wabamuno, we never had any response. Up to now, we have never had any response. But they gave judgment, not because it was to be given, but because they had been made judges of a higher court, as whoever promised. I have no doubt when I met the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, what did we say his name was?
Justice Kabito.
Kabito. Yeah. He's absolutely a wonderful man. He couldn't believe it. He said, you mean they never acknowledged your complaint against the 4 judges? I said, no. He said, stay here. He called the permanent secretary and a secretary. He said, I want you to say we have received the Kanyeihmba's complaint now. That is one of the things I learned today, and which I was mistaken. And all Ugandans learn, the government of Uganda is your servant. When you ask your servant to do something, unless it is illegal, you are obliged to respond. It was rather late. And I said, can I go now? And you said, he said, no, Professor Kanyeihmba. I want to illustrate to the whole country. This is the beauty of my meeting today with the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission. You must wait. Every citizen must wait for a reply.
In writing.
In writing. Not verbally, in writing.
Because you cannot quote a verbal reply.
Precisely. And supposing you go the next you incapacitated. Nobody will ever know.
Yeah, you have to put it on record
So today,
for reference purposes.
on the strong advice of our chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, and I hope my lawyer, Awundo, who is the chairman, senior counsel of the Uganda of the Uganda Law Society, is listening. Never again, Uganda citizens, should these people, ministers, citizens, answer verbally. You must insist and stay there, even if you have to sleep there the night, that according to the Judicial Service Chairman, Justice, please, I want a written response to my,
Any complaint.
until the single one saying, we acknowledge receipt of citizen so and so complaint. And a complaint to reply is on the same day. This is the most important thing. It must be done immediately. Because when I said to Hungary, and I wanted to leave the chairman's office, he said, no, you must go with the reply today. No verbal promises tomorrow or come another day. It must be done. So now that is the law of Uganda. When you complain against a judicial officer, against an administrative officer, they must give you a response immediately.
Just like you complain, use in writing.
Yes.
They should literally also reply to you
In writing. The word is in writing. Because I have discovered, when you complain against individual X or an organization, they are bribed not to say anything. And then they tell their bosses, because it is Museveni, the Chief Justice, or the chairman of the Judicial Service, they tell them lies. Then they tell you, the complainant, lies, that we are still waiting for the reply from the Chief Justice, from the Deputy Chief Justice, from anywhere, which is a lie. The president, many of those things we blame for, he even doesn't know anything about them. But because he trusts his ministers and the government officials, they tell him, Mr. President, we have already answered the Kanyeihmba, he's satisfied. And that's why he says the matter is dealt with.
and they will get to you in, we shall revert to you within 1 week. So that means
Yes.
next week, Wednesday, by
When
God's
is
grace,
the
when
day
we meet here, you should have some response.
The
from them.
chairman of the Judicial Service Commission will have found the answers to my complaints.
Okay. Briefly, we are breaking for some few seconds. Coming back, you finish those complaints and then tackle some of the matters as they appeared in the newspapers. In particular, I want to ask you about the right to vote. That is for the prisoners, inmates. That's what the Electoral Commission is suggesting as one of the reforms they are pushing to Parliament.
That's right.
And people in diaspora, we want to hear from you on whether or not it's even indeed called for, financial implications, on whether it promotes democracy or it does the opposite. Because I doubt how many inmates would even vote NRM in the event that they are asked to vote. Gentlemen and ladies, we are breaking shortly and coming back. Don't go away.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digitalk brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Thanks for your patience, our viewers. We are back with Justice Kanyeihmba to have our last, this last segment of the show. And he was raising some of the complaints that he had submitted to the Judicial Service Commission. To be specific, he was complaining about the, I think we should call it the misconduct, because if I call it the conduct, it may not rhyme well. Maybe you were complaining about the misconduct. You can't complain about the conduct. Maybe it becomes misconduct. So complaining about the misconduct of the court, of the panel of justices of
the Constitutional Court,
how they mismanaged, for lack of another word, your petition.
Our petition, yes.
At a time, in regards to Mr. Museveni's threats towards the right to bail.
That's right.
So and as per the letter, as we read it, they promised getting back to you in the,
on the two issues. Yeah. That judgment, which the Chief Justice has said is null and void. The Chief Justice, Alfonso Doro Winyi, has called it disgraceful and unconstitutional and unenforceable. Okay. Now let me tell you a little more. Recently, one of the suspected corrupt minister applied for bail. If Museveni had won, that court, the High Court, would have said, in accordance with the president's wish, bail is denied. But they enthusiastically embraced Kanyeihmba's submissions and they said, bail is granted. Without any reference to Museveni, but following Kanyeihmba's permission, or rather submission. So now we know that the courts
can
have the power to grant bail in accordance with the Kanyeihmba's submission, but Museveni has already conceded. I also believe in that position. It's no longer a problem. So any lawyers, any litigants who want bail to be granted to them, just cite Kanyeihmba. Okay. Only.
Okay. Our viewers, as you have heard from Justice Kanyeihmba, now want to ask your legal expertise, especially in regards to human rights. You were in UK, and I want you would forgive me for over-referring to your being in UK because you spent time there as a young person, and let alone, of course, as a lecturer, and you're staying there. You really benefited a lot. That you even went ahead and got a Briton as a wife. So you are an authority when we ask about
that. One was through love.
Love, but also if you hadn't gone there, you wouldn't have. Perhaps right. You would have him with Chiga. You have him with Chigezi. But right. Now that you were there and got yourself a darling there, now let's try to hear from you in regards to rights. Do the UK inmates vote?
At one time they didn't, but I'm not sure what is the position now.
Apparently.
I'll ask the High Commission tomorrow,
On whether or not they
and we shall talk about it next week, give you the answer.
Okay. Now,
Now,
yeah, the proposal
but
here,
with regard to Uganda now,
it's here. The EC wants prisoners and people in diaspora to vote. What is your take
You
as a
see,
human rights activist?
for me, I am very puzzled by the acrobatics of our government. If you read that blessing on the joy of who you are, I was once a victim of an attempted rape by a friendly man. I will not mention his name. And it is in my book. But I am totally against making homosexual a crime. For two reasons.
In fact, it's more or less now a capital offense, because if they had put a death sentence, it would rather, it was more or less made like a capital offense, because it's capital offenses that call for.
Yes, yes. Our MPs who are serving left and left, they have jumped on the background. We want capital punishment. We want capital punishment. Is homosexuality more serious or damaging than corruption? Where half a dozen or more ministers and senior officials have confessed that they committed
Theft.
corruption, theft, and robbery, and all that. Of course it is not. Secondly, one of the reasons I'm against it, like the Bishop have said, you can't prove it easily. In the UK, there is a law which says you cannot challenge or prosecute a couple who does homosexuality in private. Where will you get the evidence?
And the witness.
We are here. I'm going to have a news. Then we go to eat. You go home. And when I go into my bedroom, we commit that offense. How will you prove it? We shall actually not only do it here, but we may even go to the toilet or to bed under the bed. How will you ever prove it? How? Let me tell you, and let any Uganda disagreeing with debate publicly, including those who want capital punishment. Corruption is more damaging to this country. Its results are devastating than homosexuality action in private. How will you prove it? Will you start patrolling homes,
Maybe
going to the bedrooms to see whether two men are engaged in a homosexual act? This law is rubbish.
Okay.
And I say so with the greatest authority and the knowledge of the law.
Okay.
So my advice to the president, reject it.
For the second time.
Throw it away. Yes.
Okay. Back to today's headline. Monitor, which is always in your hands. Electoral Commission wants prisoners and people in diaspora to vote.
Yes, I have read it.
How practical do you think this is? Does it promote human rights and the right to vote or right to people?
You and I come from a culture known as the Banyachitara. Let's give you an example. I am slowly beginning to warm up to General Muhoozi and his MK party or group. I don't particularly cherish the idea that he or his father will be the candidate, later on president, in 2026. But in your natural culture, when your son has done something wrong, you don't reward them. You admonish them. Having admonished Muhoozi, President Museveni proceeded to apologize for his offense to the Kenyans generally. Then in the same statement, which is unusual in our culture, he promoted him to general. He said, I believe, in a statement provoked by my own writing, the defeat of President Museveni. And he said, if his people, that is we Ugandans, ask him to retire,
He will.
he willingly retire and go to his farm in Wachitura. What, I want to ask you, Andoluga, what are you waiting for? To ask him to retire peacefully.
Maybe they should write a petition. Now, how do they? If it is a referendum, it would be easy for Ugandans to ask you. Maybe should there be a force that now convinces Ugandans to sign a petition and say, Mr. President, you said if Ugandans ask you to retire, you should now. So here,
I will be the first one on that petition. My name will be the first one. Because it's done a lot. You see his picture there.
Yeah.
They wanted to take me to Butabika, that Kanyeihmba is mental. I had already started my campaign against the sins of the NRM party. President himself called his personal doctor from Butabika. He said, I want you to examine Kanyeihmba. If he is okay, I want them to release him and take him home. I am here because of his order and the wishes. So, at the moment, Ugandans have said that they want him to rest. I am soon publishing a book named H.E. President Museveni I have known since the 1960s. And I know better now.
What to add in and what?
Because you and I will remember history. That at one time he was known as a communist.
Yeah.
He's not. That's why I know him better now. So what am I saying? There is a story in the UK which says, if you can't defeat them, join them. I have written a booklet called Museveni Says He Has Been Defeated by Criminals.
Hey, by the way, he called
So
it.
by that statement, since I cannot beat it, but they're my supporters, let us agree, they will vote. So he's allowing people who have said they are criminals to vote.
Yeah, sure.
And we have a history of that, so no problem,
But then,
no surprises.
Justice, aren't you becoming segregative as a human rights advocate? Because there are people who are likely to be on remand by the time of elections. You are already more or less prejudging them that these are criminals. But also to say, and borrowing from your precedent, you said there is one person you will forever regret for having convicted, who was as innocent as you
There's
are.
a man from
Manda.
from I think Bunyoro, yes.
Yeah, of a murder. So there are those
But
people.
I could support the conviction. I'm not the one who presented the evidence. Let's be clear.
Okay, so aren't you being prejudicial to say that these are criminals? Why should they be given a right to vote?
But I am not the one who said so.
No, I'm saying, okay, are you pro or against prisoners to vote?
No.
You don't want them to vote.
Prisoners who have been convicted
So
of an offense, I am not for them.
in your view, if they are to register voters, convicts shouldn't have that right to vote.
If what?
Convicts.
Convict. Yes.
Okay.
I am
so you
opposed to
support that. Yes, true, prisoners can vote, so as long as convicts don't vote, because those are typical criminals.
You got me right. You got me right.
Okay, we are moving. What about people in diaspora? Because your children carry dual citizenship. So literally, they can choose either or to vote to participate in Ugandan elections or otherwise. Would you support that people in diaspora vote?
No, for me, what I think is good for Uganda should be good for the diaspora. So I oppose convicts
To vote. To have the right
to vote, even if they have been given a pardon by the president. Those I object to, because they have proven to be criminals.
So a criminal has
By
no
law.
right to determine who should lead Uganda or how
Yeah, absolutely, they shouldn't have. We shall soon have a presidential
candidate
winner
from
who is a criminal, a colleague of that convict. I will not have that.
other but in the diaspora, people in the diaspora, people living abroad, people
Yes.
in the diaspora, do you think they should be given that right to vote? We have seen Americans.
I think anybody who is not yet convicted by a court of law,
should,
whether they are suspected or what, should be allowed to vote. Because you are innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. So only convicts
shouldn't vote.
shouldn't vote.
Okay. In our remaining minutes, I will ask you. There are two very pertinent issues. I want you to also share your mind. I am sure you must have followed some sequence of events in regards to the president's statements everywhere when there are murders or assassinations in this country. He has always said, those pigs, he always he terms them as pigs, and the commentators have always said, so you mean these pigs are that wise that they now come commit such crimes? And
I wanted to advise the president very strongly that to say these pigs is a defamation of the pigs. No pig has ever been caught raping its child, its young. No pig has ever been seen killing another pig. So to call these criminals pigs is a very serious defamation of the animal pig. That's my view.
So he's not right to call criminals pigs, because that's what he always says. I was trying to look for his tweet to read it to you.
Yes, you look for it.
Where he says that he will deal with these pigs, and that these pigs, they are that insensitive that to attack people, unarmed people with guns, and he always says he would get them. But as we may all remember, he hasn't gotten those that killed Kawesi, Chirumira, and others, even Abiriga. So do you ever take him serious every when he comes and calls criminals pigs and he says we shall get them?
No, I don't take him clearly. Because as I say, I have had a land which a man called Utsasu Makel has seized and sold to a Ugandan criminal called Bazira. But those pigs are very gentle. I once called the vet from our best farm teaching institute, and he said my pigs were some of the best he has ever seen. Now, Bazira and the foreigner called Macau Sasu have stolen that land and converted it into a building site, and they are building a residential agricultural, while people like Mayanja and the Minister of Lands are helping these people to steal the land of Ugandans and they give it to the foreigners. That is not correct. But on a happy note, when Kanyeihmba heard about it, he called me, he said, I'm coming to help throw away those sags. When I called Byarugaba, Professor Byarugaba, the famous economist, he said he'll come tomorrow and help me remove those people. Then I also called the president of the Uganda Law Society, Owundo. He said he'll come with them and me, and on appropriate date, we shall invade and expel those thugs. He didn't use those same words, but that's how I interpreted him. Lastly, today, some religious leaders thanked Museveni for the leadership he has given this country. They are quiet. No man, rather David
Seems to be out.
where is he?
He will come.
You people call me Kalinda. Yeah, what is your view about the constitutional court judging Museveni to be a god?
Okay.
Let's see whether we can talk to him. And your views as hearings. Yes, so that's it.
Okay, I think we have around 4 or so minutes, and the challenge that one of the questions might be pushed to next week because it might be longer. But precisely, I want to ask you, Uganda's ambassadors, 2 of them to DR Congo, up to now since appointment, haven't been approved by the Congolese government. And I mean, with the diplomatic, our diplomatic relations with Congo, where do you think that puts either Ugandan government or Congolese?
Well,
government?
when another country rejects your nominee as ambassador, those relationships between those countries are not good at all.
That means, because the insider says that the Tshisekedi rather believes that Uganda supports M23, and therefore there is no need for them to also Uganda now send their ambassadors. And so literally Uganda more or less does not have an ambassador
no,
save for just being there as...
You're absolutely right. And the Congolese president is also right in his own understanding. If a man is encouraging illegality in your own country and sends his ambassador, who is in the confidence and the trust of that country's president, you must be suspicious that he is coming not as an envoy, but as a saboteur.
It's another deployment.
So it is quite logical.
Okay, your closing remarks in a minute, if you don't mind, about, of course, summarizing what has happened.
No, today has been one of the happiest days of my life. My suspicion that the President Museveni or his ministers, President Museveni or his officials who are good, were the problem, has been removed today. It is the SAG's ministers who have been hiding everything. Mr. President,
And
I congratulate you to allowing me to go and have a discussion, open discussion, with the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, with the president of the Uganda Law Society, and Deputy Chief Justice Butera, and the Chief Justice himself. Although I haven't talked to him,
in person.
his statement that the judgment by the Constitutional Court, when you had already conceded and left, is rubbish and satanic,
Okay.
has made my will to live again. At one time I had said, this is, Uganda is no longer a country I wish to live in. Now I regret that statement.
It's
I
becoming
very much want to continue living
this
until we see dramatic changes.
Okay, our viewers, see you in the see you later on, of course, with our subsequent shows. By God's grace, next week, definitely we shall have Justice Kanyeihmba, but also share more insights about what will have transpired as we move along. I wish to, on behalf of the Alternative Digitalk, thank the entire team that has been, behind this entire production and having the show and all these pieces brought together. Why doesn't God bless one and bless all of us for God in my country?
There is one thing that I have so far been